All right, let's start with this story that had shook the conscience of India. Now, he is in fact a union minister that we're talking about in the Modi government. His name is Jayant Sinha. Now, Rahul Gandhi, the leader of the Congress party, which is opposed to the Modi government, has urged Indians to sign a petition against Minister Jayant Sinha. And Jayant Sinha is upset. He says that he's been attacked on a personal level. But was it really a personal attack is the question. Now, Jayant Sinha in this picture can in fact be seen with a group of people who've been convicted, let's emphasize on this, who've been convicted for lynching a man. Now, they had appealed in a higher court and have been granted bail when the union minister garlanded them and also welcomed them with hugs. Now, Rahul Gandhi says that he's in fact filled with disgust that a union minister should in fact have garlanded and hugged lynching convicts. Now, this is India, and 2 decades into the 21st century and still struggling with mob violence and lynchings. In fact, only recently the Modi government had said that rumours on WhatsApp are actually fueling lynchings and had asked the social media platform to take appropriate measures. But is it just lynching, or is lynching now a part of politics? Now, we'll come back to India in just a bit, but before that, let's also tell you as to what has in fact happened in the United States, where this is a story of a black boy who lived in Mississippi in the 1940s. His name is Emmett Till. Now, one day in 1955, Emmett Till in fact went to a store in rural Mississippi. In the store was a lady called Carolee Bryant. Her husband, the shopkeeper, was not present at the time when this incident happened. It is not known as to what exactly transpired between the black teenager and the white woman who was in fact at the shop. But when the shopkeeper returned, he was in fact led to believe that Emmett Till had actually whistled at his wife. Now, Emmett Till was dragged out of his house and then brutally murdered for the suspicion that he had whistled at a white woman. Now, Emmett Till was brutally killed. His face was unrecognizable when his body was extracted from a river 3 days after the murder. Now, Emmett Till's murder inspired the civil rights movement in the United States more than 60 years ago. And now, the United States government has reopened its investigation into the killing of Emmett Till, the black teenager whose brutal killing in Mississippi had shocked the world and also helped inspire the civil rights movement more than 60 years ago.
Way it was done, that he was seized out of his uncle's bedroom, and that basically the mother demanded that the casket remain open. In essence, really ripping the lid off of this and saying, you as a country have to come to grips with what happened to my son. And I think that her courage, the pain she felt, but the courage of keeping that casket open really inspired people to say, enough's enough.
What could have been found in those files, and what does that mean? You know, that lets us know that in this quest for justice, as we go through the different murders that happened during the civil rights movement and the lynchings, and because of the actions of our activists fighting for our rights, that lets us know that justice can still be served.
Now, the U.S. Justice Department has said that it had received new information. The author of a book that included new revelations about the killing of Emmett Till says that he has shared all of his research materials with the FBI last year, but he is not convinced U.S. President Donald Trump cares about a black teenager from Mississippi who was killed more than 60 years ago.
I find it deep irony and appalling hypocrisy that Jeffrey Beauregard Sessions and Donald Trump would pretend to care about African-American children, about a black boy murdered in 1955. The FBI contacted me in the spring of 2017. I shared with them my research materials. Soon thereafter, I got a subpoena from the Justice Department and shared all my research materials with them in a more formal way. When they say new evidence, I think they're referring to my book. But the blood of Emmett Till only shows her lying in court, which wasn't the morning news to me. I think everybody's known that since 1955.
All right, so it's a clear case of contrast. Lynchings have taken place in India, lynchings have taken place in the United States, but it is as to how the government has responded to the respective lynchings. And to discuss more on this, we're joined in by our political affairs editor, Kartikeya Sharma. Kartikeya, it's actually an extremely disturbing trend that's in fact evolved, with Jayant Sinha having met, garlanded and also hugged these people who are out on bail, and they are convicted on charge of lynching a meat trader in Jharkhand. Now, Jayant Sinha says that he's disgusted that he's been attacked on a personal level by Rahul Gandhi because he called him out for having met and felicitated those lynching convicts.
Well, the Minister of State for Civil Aviation in India also apologized, but that's not the story. The story is that when you think it's okay to be part of the fringe and you push them to the center of the politics. You know, there is a commonality between two stories, there is difference between two stories. The commonality is that the lynching takes place in India, lynching has taken place in America also. America has its own history, the way that the way whites dealt with black, and then the subsequent civil rights movement as mentioned in the package.
Right.
In India, you have a federal structure where the cases of lynching are dealt by various state governments.
Right.
So the lynching takes place out of bias, societal bias. In the case in the United States of America, it's black. But in India, it can be on gender, it can be on the issue of caste, it can be on the issue of feed, it can be food, and it can also be on the issue of religion. So I think what is important in a lesson learned is that when the mainstream actors interact with fringe, they legitimize them.
Right.
And violent acts like lynching, for whatever electoral reasons, should never be legitimized. You know, it's not about untouchability, because any person who is accused or convicted has all the right in the world to appear before the higher courts. But then, if you felicitate them, if you honor them saying that they are victims, not the perpetrators, then the lines get blurred. And I think that's where the line got blurred in India, where the victims, but the perpetrators were treated like victims, and that's where the line has to be drawn. And you legitimize them and you center stage them. And I think that's where the furor took place, that this shouldn't have happened.
And also, Kartikeya, it's a clear incident of contrast, the manner in which the governments in the two countries have actually dealt with incidents of lynching. Now, in the United States, a case that happened in 1955, that is being reopened and is being looked at again. And here in India, you know, the government has not been, let's put it this way, very energetic in bringing these people who in fact indulge in lynching to book, especially in recent times.
See, there are multiple ways of tackling a crime. You can't make more laws and tackle a crime, because people can argue that these are so it is a reflection of what's happening at the basic societal level. But I'll give you an example. The way various liberal democracies have dealt with sex crimes. You know, earlier it was the perpetrator who was accounted for, but then certain legislations were done. Those who at the point of time jeered, cheered, witnessed it, or did not do anything,
right,
or were the passive actors, were also brought to the book. In this case, certain acts have to be very strictly enforced, that if you are witness to an event like this, then you must intervene. If you are witness to an event like this, and if you are seen to be jeering and cheering, then you will also be found culpable of that crime. So,
right,
it also requires creative thinking on part of lawmakers and those who enforce the law.
Absolutely, indeed. And just before I let you go, Kartikeya, Indian politics, we've seen the highs and the lows of Indian politics, but to try and felicitate these lynch convicts in this manner, is lynching now being used as an instrument of politics?
Not only as an instrument of electoral politics, but it's mainstreaming of an idea that in name of perceived injustice, or in the name of community honor, or in the name of faith, certain violent acts would be acceptable. It should be unacceptable. Any violent act should be unacceptable. My freedom ends at your head. That's the way Constitution defines it. Our freedom, our rights flow from our Constitution. When events like these take place and they get political sanction, it is in violation of the spirit of Indian and the word of Indian Constitution.